It was October 3rd, last year, 2020. And I got up for work just like a normal day. Supposed to get off around 2 o'clock or so. And I was feeling great, man. I was feeling great. I had joined the gym. I mean, I was in like my 13th week, eating right, doing everything right. And so I went to work, and right around 12 o'clock is when I stopped to eat. And so I made me a quick peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And just as soon as I got done eating, I run bulldozers. I'm a heavy equipment operator. So I'm sitting on my bulldozer. I put all my bread away or whatever. And I went back to work. And I mean, with the first few minutes, my throat started hurting. I mean, I felt pressure in my throat. So I'm like, okay, this is new, you know. So I say, I just keep going. So I say it'll go away. It's going to go away. And after a while, I got, okay, I had to stop. So I stopped and I got off. And by that time, the pain started going in my chest. So I had a friend of mine that was in the water truck. I told him, hey, take me to the office because I didn't have any Tums. That's what I thought it was. So by the time I got to the office, I walked in, and my medic, she looked at me and she did one of them double takes. And then she said, what's wrong with you? I said, I need some Tums. I said, my chest, I had indigestion before, and that's what they told me. And she said, oh, okay, yeah. So I know she didn't believe me, or she wasn't, believing what was really happening. So she gave me some Tums and she gave me some aspirin. And um, I went the year before that, like a year almost to the date. I was working on another job in North Dakota, and my chest started hurting there. And I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I told her, I said, my chest is starting to hurt. And she says, call 911 because I don't, if something hurt now. I'm not concerned. But she heard it in my voice. And she said, well, hang up and dial 911, like right now. And I said, okay. So I hung up and I checked my pulse in my neck. And I never knew a heart can beat the way it was beating. It was all over the place. So I got scared, of course. And I said to myself, I said, I'm about to die. And I got a little scared. And then all of a sudden, the whole place, everything around me changed. Everything changed. The scenery, I don't know what it was, but something was there because I felt it. And I was okay. I felt like it's okay to die. All my fear left, everything just left, and I felt the greatest peace. And my son was getting on an airplane because I got him a job there. So he's getting on the airplane coming in, and I'm about to die. So I said, this won't be good. And the company that I was working for, they go home to Minnesota for a break, but that's 3 days or 4 days. I can't remember. So I don't like just sitting around in my camper. I work. So I was working by myself. I'm on the side of the interstate somewhere. God knows what the next town is for the ambulance. And so I got on the phone with the 911 lady, and eventually it went away by the time the ambulance did get there and find me. And they took me to the hospital, and the guy said, well, this machine is going to go back a few hours for your heart to see if anything was going on with it. And they checked and they said it was nothing. There was nothing there, that I had bad indigestion. So when I walked in my medic office, I was telling her, "Oh no, no, this happened last year. I'm okay. Just give me some Tums." And she's like, in that piece that fell on me, I didn't tell no me. I told my mother. I said, "Man," I said, I got scared, and then the fear, something, I don't know, everything just suddenly got quiet, and all my fear was gone. As it was gone. So the only thing I'm worried about is my son coming in, and I got to find somebody to go and pick him up if I'm gonna die. So I wasn't worried about me dying no more. I wasn't worried about my chest hurting. I had such a peace, and I was good with dying. I said, okay, good. I'm out of here. But my son is coming. That was my only concern. So she gave me an aspirin and stuff, and she wouldn't let me leave. And then I was sitting there, and my girlfriend had called my mother again. And so I saw my phone ring, and it was my mother. I said, well, I'm not going to answer it right now because there's too much going on. My breathing was getting erratic or whatever. And then the pain went into my arm. So when it went into my arm, then I said, oh, I don't think this is indigestion. And because I know the story with the arm, if it gets in your arm. And I heard him say something about the ambulance, man. And I'm at work. There's people everywhere. And I'm about to cause a big scene. I'll say, man, I was hoping to please go away. Please go away. And it started calming down after a while. And I had a friend sitting right in front of me. I was sitting on the stool. And I told him, and I told my medic, I said, well, my pain is going away. And they said, good. But they kept asking me questions. And I was looking at my buddy. He was looking at me. And all of a sudden, I felt myself passing out. I mean, like, I hope he catch me. It was just that quick. So he caught me, of course, and laid me on the floor. So when I opened my eyes, the medic was on my chest, and she was pushing my chest. So I opened my eyes. I'm like, hey, what you doing? And so she jumped off me, and her eyes was wide open. I'm like, like I scared her. Come later to find out, a heart attack victim, when they come back, they don't talk. So here I am, like, why are you on my chest? What are you doing? And she jumped up and she looked at me, and then people started coming in. And she said, Bryan, she said, your heart stopped. And I said, no, it didn't. I was asleep. I said, let me tell you this dream that I had. And then she started shaking her head. She said, she said, she said, Bryan, you died. And I'm like, I mean, imagine somebody telling you just died. And so I looked down, and my shirt was cut off, and the defibrillator was sitting there just talking. I had these patches on my chest, and then realization hit me. I'm like, wow, so then it hit me like, what did I just see? You know? So when I fell out and closed my eyes, I was in darkness, and I can tell I was looking up. I was looking up, and I saw it looked like somebody had a flashlight or something, like way in the distance. And then, man, all of a sudden, it's like you've been in the dark for a month, all dark, and somebody stick a flashlight right in your face and turn it on. That's how powerful that light was. I mean, it was, and I knew I had hands because I tried to cover my face because of the light. And then within I guess a blink or so, I was inside the light, and I'm sitting there floating, and I'm looking around, and I was inside a light, and I would look up and down, left and right, and I was just in the light, and I'm like, okay. And then after a few minutes, the front of it start breaking apart like a fog. it was like a fog starting to lift, you know. And when it did, I start coming out of the light. And when I came out the light, it was like it was like a glove or something. It's like it grabbed me, and all I felt was forgiveness. I felt peace and all love. And it grabbed me so much, it's like you want to take a deep breath because it's so powerful. That's nothing that even can explain how I felt when I came out that light. And I was so wrapped up in that. I was so wrapped up, man. It was unexplainable. And then I never thought nothing about my family or earth or anything to do with anything there. Any problem I ever had was left with my body or whatever. I brought nothing with me and I was free. You can almost feel the breeze going through your whole body, you know? And when it started clearing up, I was way above these pine trees. And I started floating toward the pine trees and I started coming down alongside of them. And I was looking at the needles, and these pine needles were so green. This tree was so beautiful. And I was just staring at the tree. I never even realized I was floating, you know, and I was steady drifting down. I got all the way down till I could see the base of the tree where it goes into the ground. And then I floated backwards. And these trees, I guess, was elevated and there was a drop off. So when I floated backwards, you know, my eyes are being controlled, I guess. And I would look down. And when I looked down, there was this garden. And these flower heads were huge flower heads. And the colors of this garden, the white, the reds, the green, it was these huge flowers. And they all had this color. When I looked at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, how I was entranced. I mean, I was locked in on these flowers. They were so beautiful and they were so many and they were huge. And also to my left, I could see it over my shoulder. The rays from the white light that brought me there, I could see the rays from the light. You know, I didn't look that way, but I knew it was there because I could see the white rays coming off of it. Man, that light was so powerful, man. It was powerful. And and so I'm floating to the right. I'm floating to the right. And I'm just looking down at all these flowers. This garden was it was entrancing. It was like the flowers were alive. It was like everything there was alive, you know. And then my eyes shifted up, and I'm not sure if I was taken up really high because I'll tell you why here in a second. So I'm looking across this beautiful blue sky, and there was no sun. There was none of that. And I could see like five white dots, and they were light, five white lights, like a star, but not yellow. They were white. And so, okay, I say, so I'm looking at this now. And they started getting bigger. So I say, well, either I'm going to them or they're coming to me. And so they're getting bigger. And the closer they got, the more smaller lights start popping up. Lights just start in their own way, in their own self, just start popping up. Lights just, getting with the bigger lights that were coming. And by the time they got to me, all these lights started forming together. And I could see a head being formed. All these lights just joining together, and I could see a head, like something is being born or something. Then I could see the shoulders start coming out, and all this was light, all the lights just joining together. And then there he was. Oh my God. And he was there. He was like, he was just, everything formed, and he's standing there. Well, we're floating, and I could tell he was holding his hands because you could see the arms go out, and cut in at the elbow. And, but you couldn't see nothing. It was the straight silhouette of a light man. You could tell, I guess he had a robe because I couldn't see no legs like if he had pants on. And, and then and also his head, there were like waves of lights, a part of his head and at the very top, and they were waving. They were waving, and then he started floating. He went up above me, and then he dropped below me. Because when he dropped below me, I didn't see the trees or nothing no more. Because he dropped way below me, and you could see his head turning. Like he was doing this, and when he go above me, I could see it. He never stopped looking at me, and he did that for a while, and then he came right in front of my face. I could have reached out and touched him, and then he took off. He took off to the right, and Jeff, he left so fast. He left traces of himself. They were disappearing slowly, one by one, as he left, because he just took off like in the blink of an eye. He was gone, but I know which way he went because the traces were there and they were disappearing. And that's when I woke up on the floor. And that's when I asked the medic, what was she doing? And I thought I was dreaming, but they told me I was dead because after they got me up, all my urine was on the floor. Mm-hmm. and I just like, what in the world just happened? I didn't even know I was dead. Never even knew I died. Mm-hmm. Never even knew. And so they got me up. And my arm was hurting so bad. And it was one guy in there. I'd never seen him before. And he came to me. And by this time I'm hurting, He came up to me and said, man, what do you need me to do? I said, could you just hold my arm up in the air because it eased it somewhat. And he told me, I'm going to hold it and I ain't going to never let it go. And so we waited for the ambulance because we 80 miles out and there's nothing around. That's the kind of jobs we do. There's nothing around. So I'm 80 miles from the hospital. And so all my bosses, everybody, man, they couldn't help me. They were just looking at me. And then I heard them say something about a helicopter. And when they said that, and I'm looking at them and everybody's sad, I said, really? A helicopter? I said, I'm gonna have to work for the rest of my life mm-hmm. to pay that bill just to man, their faces, we care about each other. We're a team. That's my family. And so the ambulance got there and they came in and gave me something to stick under my tongue. Nitrous, I don't know what it was. So they wouldn't let me walk to the ambulance. So they was picking me up. And I'm telling y'all better not drop me. And so, of course, I had to throw a little something in there, brighten somebody up. Mm-hmm. And so they all laughing and they shooting me to the ambulance. And when they started putting me in there, I didn't want to lay down on my back. I'm not a back person, and then it looked like a little box. I really didn't want to get in there. So I got in there and I laid down and I guess they hooked me to everything. And I felt a jerk. After I lay there a few minutes, I felt like a jerk. And then I was looking in my face. My eyes were closed, my mouth was open, and it was my own face. But I didn't recognize my face. And I was really close because I couldn't see the people that was inside the ambulance. I was like right in my face. And it's like I was studying my face. I'm like, almost like, what is that? What am I looking at? And I couldn't understand because I didn't even know my own self. And then with the blink of an eye, I was gone. And this time, I didn't go through the tunnel or the lights. I didn't go through that. I went straight to where I was supposed to be going. And when everything turned on, I was looking at this big, huge circle. I mean, it was huge, huge. And it was on the inside of this circle, there were flowers again. And this time they were smaller. And inside the big circle, there were little circles. Each colors of flowers had their own circle, perfect circles inside the big circle. Reds, the blues, the greens, and to me, even from the first one, the flowers that I saw, I felt that they, I felt that they portrayed me in some kind of way because that's what I felt. I felt a lot of stuff that I was wondering what it was for, but I felt that garden was mine. I felt where I was. I felt like I had been there before. I felt that. And the circle that I'm looking at now, because I love everybody. And I think each one of those circles of flowers in one big circle represented different people, different races, different religions, or however you serve God. Um, and that's the man, the light being never talked to me. He just was looking at me. And I felt, I don't know, but I think he was talking to me, but not like somebody would say. And that's how I felt the other circle. It's like we all in one big circle, and I think that's what he was showing me. Now I'm hooked up to the stuff in the ambulance, so they shocking me, so when I opened my eyes, every everybody in there was just looking at me. I mean, I guess I don't know, it was 3 or 4 people, and everybody was just looking at me. So when I opened my eyes, I looked at them. I said, "So what happened?" And I said, the lady said, "We had to shock you. You died." I said, "Okay." You know, so I was okay for a while, and then I can hear the helicopter coming, and of course, here come another team. They get me out of the helicopter. I mean, not the ambulance. I'm sorry, and they put me in the helicopter. And because all my bosses, everybody, I mean, they know the helicopter coming. They didn't got the whole parking lot, cars moved, everything was perfect. And the bird came in, they didn't water it with the water truck, and it was ready. Very professional, very professional. So it came in, they took me out the ambulance because the ambulance 80 miles away, they wasn't about to do that. So they put me in the helicopter and we took off. And I was okay on the flight there. So we landed on the roof and they all was waiting on me and they came got me and they took me down to I guess where they was going to do surgery because they kept yelling blockage, blockage, blockage. It's a blockage. And I was hurting. So I went from sweating and dude with a heart attack. I was sweating so bad. The little stickers they was trying to stick on me wasn't sticking. And I wanted to go to sleep. I was so sleepy. I even asked my boss, I said, "Hey, just let me go to sleep for just a minute." So of course they wasn't having that. There ain't nobody having that. You're not going to sleep. And so, to get me to the emergency, to the operating room, and they start prepping me. Some ladies came in. I'm like, okay, what are they doing? Two walked on one side, me two on the other. And they start taking my clothes off. I said, "Oh my God, I'm already cold." you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so then they start prepping me for surgery, shaving my groin or whatever, and I don't know. I didn't feel myself die that time because when I opened my eyes and when they put me in there, my arms were on side of me. So when I opened my eyes, my arms was over my head, both of them, and I said, hey, I said, wasn't my arms on the side of me? And the guy looked at me. He said, man, he said, you didn't feel that? I said, what? He said, we shocked you so hard your body almost jumped off the table. He said, you didn't feel. I said, I ain't feel nothing. So that time, I didn't go through the light again, none of that. It was like, bam, okay, Bryan, let me show you this. We done the light thing, come here, let me show you this. And so now, man, it seemed like I'm standing in front of this huge, huge chair. If I could have walked up to it, I would have went under it because the leg, it was just that high. And it was huge because I was looking up at it. And right about where the armrest should be, there was these flowers again on each side. I can't really remember what the top part looked like. And I didn't really know what I was looking at, but the way I described it to people, and they said, man, it sounds like you're looking at the throne of God. And okay, you know, and it was beautiful. Everything about what I went through was beautiful. And Jeff, when I was a child, I loved God. I always have. When I realized, um, when I got old enough to like, okay, who put us here? Where do we come from? And then you're hearing the Big Bang and all this and all that. I said, no, and we didn't come from no monkeys. Somebody put us here. We too perfect. So that's when I learned about Jesus Christ and God. And of course, we have the Bible and all that, and you got all these different people saying different with interpretations, different things. So okay, I'd always ask God. I said, I don't want to read nothing because it don't seem like every it's so many different ways. I said, I want to see what's there. I want to see it. I always asked him that. Growing up all through my life, I want to see, and I saw. And then people would tell me, "Oh, be careful what you ask for." Really, dude, I'd do that again. I'd die right now. I'd die right here on this TV while we talking. It was so beautiful, and I'm not scared. I had no fear. Nothing, nothing. I die right now tonight on your show, and I know I'm going back home. Um, so that was, the doctor came in and he did the surgery and he left out, and I think he saw me. He saw me later on at night, and he walked in the room, and I'm sitting there looking at him. He said, everybody in here calling you a miracle. I'm like, well, why is that? He said, because I'm not supposed to be talking to you. He said, which you had 3 massive heart attacks. You coded out 3 different times. And he said, there's no way I'm supposed to be sitting here talking to you. That's why everybody in here saying the miracle guy, because every now and then I'd see people look in, and that's him. That's him. so he says, you're supposed to be on a ventilator right now. You're supposed to be, and here you are. You're sitting here talking to me. And, so I thank God for that. I knew it was God showing me what I saw. I've always asked for it. And if I want to see something again and that's what happened, then it's okay. It's okay with me. And they told me, they gave me this vest. So it shocks you if your heart get out of rhythm. And I had to wear that for 3 months. And they say in your heart, it's real. You have a really angry heart because they shock you 3 different times. And it's not pushing the blood out like it's supposed to. You're supposed to push it 50% or something. I was at 35. And so I had to wear this vest for 3 months, and they telling me it was so bad that, and they kept showing me this, what the defibrillators, what they put in your chest. Yeah. So they showing me this. Yeah, this is what we're going to have to stick in your chest. I'm like, man, I said, but in my mind, man, all what I've been through and what I saw, I'm like, I think my heart is healed, you know, and I don't think I'm gonna need that, So when 3 months passed and they did my test, and the doctor called me and said, "Dude," he said, "you good to go. You can go to work. You can do whatever you want." So I live life now.